Hello, this is Dr. Do again. This video is on alphabetic list problem, still on letter E. Today I'm going to talk about the erythrocytes and associated diseases. What are the erythrocytes? The fancy word for red blood cells, just like leukocytes, is the fancy medical words for the white blood cells. So erythrocytes are the red blood cells. Is any conditions associated with this red blood cell disease? Of course, there acute bleeding, for example, or severe anemia will cause the alter the mental status in later cancer, for example. So this is or there's a sickle cell disease, the sickle cell crisis. That means acute situation, have to go to the emergency, get rehydrated, get treated. So that's the emergency I can think associated with red blood cells, of course, or toxin, carbon monoxide toxicity, acute exposed. So these are the emergency situations you need to visit emergency room. Any conditions regarding to this erythrocyte disease you can manage at home? Probably not, because we all know that erythrocytes or red blood cells are very important for our daily life or our function. So the red blood cells, erythrocytes, a fancy word, I just use red blood cells. It's the major component in the blood, the function to carry oxygen from the lung, from the air through the lung, and to the tissue to provide for metabolism and energy. So how did this work? Basically, the red blood cell has a special protein called hemoglobin, and for of the hemoglobin structure, at the middle of this four hemoglobin, there is a structure called the heme. At the center of the heme, there is iron. So this is the chemical magic of chemistry. So the iron has either two-valent or three-valent. So the two-valent of the iron, which is the ferrous, can be oxidized to a three-valent. So in the lung, then this ferrous oxidized to the ferric. So then this iron to be oxidized to the ferrous form and carried circulating the blood to the peripheral tissue to be reduced to become the ferric, which is a two-valent. So from three-valent of iron become two-valent of iron. So this is the chemical magic to carry the oxygen from the lung to the tissue to provide. So the iron from the oxidized form to the reduced form to carry carbon dioxide and to release it and oxidized becomes the carried oxygen. So this is the basic chemistry mechanism why the red blood cell can carry the oxygen. In terms of red blood cell, we all know it's produced by the bone marrow or in the flat bones like the skull or the sternum or the pelvic bones. So for adult, and the life for red blood cell lifespan probably 120 days. So after 120 days, the circulated red blood cells go to spleen or liver. Because in spleen or liver, there's special type of capillary called sinus. Those kind of sinus capillary, there's no intact wall, a lot of holes. And the tempted is big enough, the tempted red blood cell to pass through. However, during this pass-through process, break down to fragments and recycle either and then metabolize in the liver, generate the bilirubin or other chemicals. So that's why if there's a problem with liver disease, can cause the jaundice because the bilirubin cannot be metabolized. So that's why, and also the red blood cell disease also can cause this. I'm going to mention about that. So this is basically the red blood cell in general, how it's produced, why it can carry oxygen, and what is the fate or what happened after 120 days. So then what kind of disease? So of course we know anemia, which means not enough hemoglobin or not enough red blood cells can cause this disease, or too much of red blood cells. Polycythemia vera It seems probably not that serious, but whatever you have, even though hemoglobin is a function for carrying oxygen, you imagine probably the more the better, not necessary. I'm going to talk about that. So let's talk first category of not enough, anemia. What are the causes for anemia? Either not produce enough, or plastic anemia, or iron deficiency, or the folate or vitamin B12 deficiency. These group of diseases cause not produce enough of hemoglobin or red blood cells, or degenerated or broke down in the body, like hemolysis, or some genetic disease like glucose 6-phosphate dehydrogenase deficiency, Fowler-Bean disease, or sickle cells, or other kind of problem that cause the red blood cells will break down. So that's another route to cause the anemia. And there's another route is just lose outside of the outside the body, either chronic bleeding, for example, the colon cancer. You do not know, just the subtle bleeding from those cancer tissue cause the blood near the blood vessel. So then chronic lose the blood. Actually, a lot of colon cancer is diagnosed because anemia as the first clinical presentation. So that's another cause. So basically, these are the three causes for the anemia, for not enough. What are the symptoms for anemia? I think I mentioned previously when I talked about anemia, of course, fatigue, extremely fatigue, and look pale. And sometimes if it's severe enough, can have the shortness of breath and tightness of the chest. So that's kind of a very subtle symptom of anemia. Or if this vitamin B12 or folic acid deficiency can cause, especially vitamin B12 deficiency can have the neurological deficit, feel numbness, tingling, on top of pale or fatigue. And to those only special diet, not eat a lot of animal fat, animal proteins, can have this risk for vitamin B12 or folic acid deficiency. So this is a group of diseases that are not producing enough. Hemolysis, the blood type mismatch, or the chemicals like the Fowler-Bean anemia, genetic cause, or any other genetic cause can have this breakdown of red blood cells. The increase or the red blood cells usually is oval shaped and concaved, but if it's not, some of the genetic cause of the red blood cell just like a spherocyte. So if that's the case, also increase the fragility, so red blood cell will break down, cause the anemia. So so this is the one group of disease, which means not enough of red blood cells or hemoglobin. The other group is polycythemia vera, which is too much red blood cells. Like I said, probably you think because red blood cell function to carry the oxygen, probably the more the better, not necessary. The polycythemia vera increased risk of thrombosis because increase the viscosity of the blood, and a lot of symptoms like either easy to feel dry and sensitive to the heat, sensitive to the moist. So this is it's also is not good and need to be treated. And the other class similar situation is just too much iron in the body, sideroblastic problem. So you have too much iron, cause the same problem. The iron will deposit in the organs, and also cause the increase the red blood cells and cause the viscosity. So it has to be a certain time to release the iron, because too much iron can cause a lot of problems. So this is a briefly talk about the erythrocyte, since we're on E category. Basically the red blood cell associated disease. Just give you some idea what kind of problems. Some of them might be very subtle, like anemia or polycythemia vera. You probably cannot feel it until accidentally do the lab, find out you have low hemoglobin or you have too much red blood cells. So the point is if you feel something unusual, or you do the regular physical to identify, diagnose this subtle problem. So that is for today, and thank you for watching. I will see you next time.